Imagine your manager walks into your office and says, "We need our company's carbon footprint for this financial year." Where do you begin? Do you install a machine to measure carbon? Or do you walk around the factory with a sensor? Or do you estimate everything? None of this. In reality, companies calculate their carbon footprint using data they already collect every day. Electricity bills, fuel purchase records, travel expenses, waste disposal records, production reports. Today I'll show you exactly how that data becomes a carbon footprint. No complicated formulas, no advanced mathematics. Just the exact logic ESG analysts use in real projects. So, what is a carbon footprint? Let's first understand what we are trying to calculate. A carbon footprint is simply the total greenhouse gas emissions generated by an organization, product, activity, or even an individual over a specific period. Notice I did not say carbon dioxide because we are measuring all greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, refrigerant gases. Since each gas contributes differently to global warming, we convert them into one common unit called carbon dioxide equivalent. Think of it like converting different currencies into one currency. Once everything is expressed as carbon dioxide equivalent, we can calculate one total carbon footprint. That's what companies report in their sustainability reports, BRSR reports, GRI reports, and climate disclosure. Now, here is something many beginners don't realize. Before any calculation happens, an ESG analyst needs only 4 things. First, activity data. This tells us what actually happened. For example, 5,000 liters of diesel consumed, 25,000 units of electricity used, 10 tons of waste generated, 50 business flights completed. Activity data is nothing more than operational data. Second, we need the emission source. Is this scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3? Without classifying emissions correctly, the final report will be inaccurate. Third, we need an emission factor. Emission factor tells us how much greenhouse gas is emitted for 1 unit of activity. For example, 1 liter of diesel releases a certain amount of greenhouse gases. 1 kilowatt hour of electricity has a different emission factor. Every activity has its own emission factor. Finally, we need global warming potential because different greenhouse gases have different warming impacts. We convert them into carbon dioxide equivalent. Once we have these 4 things, calculations becomes surprisingly straightforward. Next, we dive into where do emission factors come from. This is probably the question I receive most often. Who decides the emission factors? The answer is companies do not invent them. Emission factors are published by recognized scientific and regulatory organizations. Depending on the country and reporting frameworks, companies may use national or internationally accepted databases. For example, electricity emission factors differ from country to country because every country generates electricity differently. A country that depends heavily on coal will have a higher electricity emission factor than one that uses more renewable energy. Similarly, diesel, petrol, natural gas, aviation fuel, and waste all have established emission factors based on scientific research. As ESG analysts, we don't guess these values. We use approved emission factors from recognized sources and apply them consistently. This is why 2 companies using the same amount of diesel should arrive at very similar scope 1 emissions if they use the same methodology. Let's calculate a simple example together. Suppose a company used 10,000 liters of diesel during the year. Step 1. Identify the activity is diesel consumption. Step 2. Classify the source. Since the diesel is burned inside the company owned vehicles, this becomes scope 1. Step 3. Collect activity data, which is nothing but 10,000 liters. Step 4. Find the approved emission factor for diesel. Now we apply one simple equation. Activity data into emission factor is equal to greenhouse gas emissions. The result gives us emissions in kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent. Now let's look at electricity. Suppose the company purchased 10,000 kilowatts of electricity. Electricity belongs to scope 2. Again, activity data into electricity emission factor is equal to scope 2 emissions. Imagine employees travel by air. Those kilometers traveled become activity data. The relevant aviation emission factor is applied. Those emissions become scope 3. Finally, all scope 1 emissions are added together, all scope 2 emissions are added together, and all scope 3 emissions are added together. The sum of these three gives the organization's total carbon footprints. Notice something important. The calculation itself is not the difficult part. The real challenge is collecting complete, accurate, and reliable activity data from across the organization. What ESG analysts actually do. This is where many beginners misunderstand the role of an ESG analyst. People often imagine ESG professionals spending all day solving equations. In reality, much of the work happens before the calculation. An ESG analyst coordinates with different departments. The facilities team provides electricity and fuel data. HR team provides employee travel information. Procurement team shares supplier data. Logistic team provides transportation records. Whereas finance validates purchase records. Operations explain production process. ESG analyst brings all this information together, verify its quality, applies the correct methodology, performs the calculation, and prepares disclosures for frameworks like BRSR, GRI, CDP, or other climate reporting requirements. So, an ESG analyst is not just a calculator, they are a data interpreter, a system thinker, and a bridge between business operations and sustainability reporting. Today, you learned something that many beginners never get taught. A company's carbon footprint is not measured with special equipment. It's calculated using operational data that already exist inside the organizations. The skill lies in identifying the right data, classify it correctly, apply approved emission factors, and converting everything into carbon dioxide equivalent using accepted methodologies. That's the foundation of carbon accounting. In our next video, we'll go one step further. We will explore the GHG protocol, the global standard behind greenhouse gas accounting. You will understand organizational boundaries, operational boundaries, and why two companies can report emissions differently even when they operate in the same industry. If you are serious about building a career in ESG, sustainability, or carbon accounting, don't just watch this series. Follow along and practice with example. That's how you move from understanding concepts to becoming someone who can actually contribute to real ESG projects. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.